Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. So I'm finally getting around to this much delayed video here. We're going to take a look at the Booz Blades Aero. And let me go ahead and start off by stating that obviously it's a design by William Booz, manufactured by Millet Knives of Idaho. But I wanted to start out by telling you guys about a giveaway that Will's actually going to do on his Instagram page for one of these knives. Might be the one that I have here that's going back to, might be another one, I'm not entirely sure, but he's going to do the giveaway soon, so go check out his Instagram in the link down below if you want to get in on that. And yeah, let's get into the video. So again, this one's longer overdue. I think I've had the knife for about, I want to say maybe 6 weeks. I think it came to me prior to Christmas, and then the first of the year has been super busy. And I'm finally getting around to the video. Now the good news is that I've actually carried this one quite a bit. I took a trip to California the first week of January. I was in California the entire week, and there was a blizzard at 3 in the morning when we left to try to avoid traffic on a holiday. And anyways, I only walked out of the door with this knife, so I had it for an entire week, nothing else in California, which was cool as far as T&E goes. A lot of food prep, a lot of packages. Was denied admittance to a museum because it was poking out of my pocket. Anyways, good times. So again, the Booz Blades Aero. Aero short for aerodynamic, and I believe it was named after his Australian Shepherd Aero. So just a fun little detail as we get into the specs, overall impressions, and more details. So I've covered the giveaway that's coming up. Let me also state that I won't be doing a ton of flipping on this video. Sliced my finger open, there's some super glue over the top, a couple days ago on a friend's knife, and the knife was in the closed position when I sliced my finger, so that was fun. Anyways, let's take a look at this one. So blade length is 3.75 inches, handle length is 4.75 inches, overall 8.5. Pretty good blade to handle ratio. Blade steel is CPM 20 CV, which is an M390 equivalent, very high quality steel. Obviously done in Warncliffe style with a hollow grind. Handles are 6AL4V titanium. The bearings are stainless steel on the inside. The ceramic, it has a ceramic detent ball. It is a frame lock with the stainless steel lock insert, and it uses a standoff to secure the back of the knife. So this one is the kind of entry or base level, comes in at $399 or $400, and 0.52 inches thick, weighing 4.5 ounces on my scale. As a size comparison, we have the Kershaw CQC 7K. I know a couple of you guys requested the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. I'll probably pick one up eventually, but as you can see, obviously there's a pretty big difference in the length of the blade and thickness in the handles and so forth. But that's what we're looking at here with these two. So, all right, overall impressions. It is well made. It's clean. It's simple. I think, really his design intent was to focus on the details of the knife, not really do any embellishments, just a straight exercise of design language. So there's a lot of hidden details here in this knife, but it's clean, it's simple, it's straightforward. I think some of you guys will be very attracted to the overall lines. Some of you guys, there may not be enough there to excite you, but the fit and the finish is really good. Lockup is good, action is good. There are no flaws or defects on this particular knife, and it excels for everyday carry use. Beyond everyday carry use, I think there would be better options available because it does have a fairly fine tip, and it comes down to a very, very thin hollow grind here. So again, EDC, cutting, things of that sort, it would excel. So those are my overall impressions. Let's take a look at the details. So again, CPM 20 CV, really good blade steel. There's a look at that hollow grind, really aggressive. Initially when I was looking at the designs, I assumed that Maybe this large opening hole might get in the way of cutting tasks, but I did not experience that specifically. Again, it was mostly allocated to, package and food type of stuff, normal EDC carry. Now, as far as the opening hole goes, it works really well for a variety of methods. Roll it open, flick it open, middle finger flick. And then the flipping action, I'll try to show you here. Hopefully I don't freaking slice or rip this finger open again. But it flips pretty well. Middle finger, thumb. So the action is obviously tuned for all the opening methods, so this isn't the hardest or the fastest flipper that you'll ever experience. Could you tweak it a little bit to have a harder detent? Yeah, but then you might lose some of the, some of the thumb hole opening method options. So there's no jimping on the flipper tab, which is probably a good thing when the the action is tuned, for kind of a medium detent setup. If it was a really hard detent, I think this flipper tab might need some texturizing or some additional grip added to it. And pro tip, if you guys have a knife that you feel like needs some texturing or whatever, if you can send it off to someone who carbidizes blade steel, they can actually carbidize the flipper tab face to give it some additional grip. So that's actually a pretty cool tip. I'll have to have that done to one of my knives and show you guys. Hopefully I'll think of doing that soon here. But anyways, again, so action is detents medium or so forth. Obviously the flipper tab flows in with the overall design here, and there's some really nice texturing up here on the spine of the knife for some jimping. Locks your thumb in really well so you don't slip. I think it's the perfect amount of grip without being sharp. However, my thumb is actually pretty well calloused, so I could be pretty far off in left field here compared to a normal individual's thumb. But that should be it for the blade. Let me show you guys a nice detail here on the blade tang, but they did go ahead and incorporate a detent track into the tang of the blade. So as the detent ball comes up or off, right there, the blade tang, it's easier to overcome that with the cutout that they did right there. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, again, flipping action is really good. Can't get it to fail with my first or middle finger. My thumb, I can do half, partial deployments. Kind of as an interesting observation, I think that's because my thumb is much stronger than, my first or middle finger, so I have more control. But with these two, if I break the detent, it fully opens. So anyways, that is the action. That's the detent. That's the blade. Let's take a look at the handle. So very clean. Obviously, overall, the knife is simple. It's straightforward. There's really no frills. The blade, is completely encased in the handle. The opening hole flows with the design. The flipper tab comes up here and flows with the design. And Will was telling me something, I probably won't do it justice, but he was saying that every detail on the knife matches another aspect. So I think he was saying the depth of the jimping on the spine of the blade is the same depth as the chamfer of the, going around the blade, something like that. I obviously I didn't recall it correctly, but this knife was very labor intensive in terms of dialing the design. So let me show you guys the standoff here. Some nice machining there, looks really good. Pocket clip functions perfectly, really well done. 2 screws from the inside, so it's completely solid. One thing that I do like is that the pocket clip rests partially on the frame and then partially on the lock bar. But the nice thing is, since half of it's on the frame, you can't exert any pressure on the lock bar. Pocket clips that come down over the lock bar only, if you get any pressure on the lock bar, or on the clip, it pushes down the lock bar too, which is not ideal. They did do an internal cutout for the lock bar to keep, again, the lines very clean. And as you can see, even the line from the pocket clip, kind of flows into the cutout here for the frame. Wire EDM cutout to keep it, very thin lines, very clean. Stainless steel lock insert. Centering is perfect. Lockup is rock solid and probably about 50%, maybe 40, a little bit less, somewhere in there, but very clean, very solid. Alright, what else? I think that's predominantly it. As an interesting aside, when I was in California, I showed my dad this knife, and he's never really carried pocket knives. He had a box full of old stuff from when he was like in Boy Scouts, and he had an old scout knife, stuff like that. But he's never really carried a knife, so I handed this one to him and asked him what he thought about it. And the first thing he said is he picked it up and he said, "Oh, there's not a lot of traction on the knife. It's really smooth." And it kind of took me back for a minute, because back in my early days of knife collecting, my videos, things like that, I was very focused on high traction, high texture, things of that sort, the whole kind of tactical scenario. But the longer that I've had knives, the longer I've done videos, the less that has been important to me. It's become less and less important, because in normal everyday carry use, I've never found myself slipping on a flat, plain titanium stone-washed handle. So it was kind of interesting that he brought that up, and it didn't really cross my mind because it's been so long since I've made that a consideration. So that was just kind of an interesting note or side there, but yeah. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about Will. So William Booz, he went to school for mechanical engineering, and he actually designed this knife for a class project, I believe. So he designed it, he liked the way it turned out, so then he sought out someone to actually manufacture and do the knife for him. So he initially reached out to Millet, and at the time Millet was not doing small runs of like less than 200, and so they said, "Hey, sorry, we just can't do that right now. We want to put you in touch with this guy over at a company or manufacturing, Zodiac Engineering." And so I guess Ken over at Zodiac there, he would do small runs, and Ken and Will actually went back and forth for about 2 months refining Will's initial design, and so we end up with the design that you see here today. So Will did one run with Zodiac Manufacturing, and then he got back in touch with Millet, or somehow it worked out with Millet later that Millet actually decided to do a run with him in kind of a smaller quantity. So they did the version 1, which I believe was just like this knife. I know one difference was it didn't have a stainless steel lock insert, and now they're on version 2 here, probably maybe different blade steel as well. But now they're on version 2 with Will and Millet knives, and that's the knife that you see in front of you right here. So 20 CV lock insert, really nice clean manufacturing. No issues on this particular one that he sent me. And I'm not going to say that he cherry-picked it, but I'm sure he's doing quality control on all knives that go through him, and if there's a problem, you can always contact Will. So that's again kind of where he came from, how the design came about. He does have more projects that he's thinking about or hoping to do in the future, maybe some along the lines of this design, perhaps a new design. But again, we're looking at someone who had the skill set and the capabilities to do the complete CAD design, before he approached the manufacturer. I don't think anyone's really doing the napkin drawing type of stuff anymore here. So that's kind of my take on the Booz Aero here from Booz Blades. Again, giveaway. If you're watching this video long after it was released, it's long gone, but you can always go follow Will on Instagram, and I'll put the link to his website down below. So thanks for watching, everyone. You can also follow me on Instagram as EpicSnuggleBunny, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. More videos to come. Take care.